The council chamber was vast, a monument to 1,000 years of rule. Ornate, grand, and utterly silent as the human delegation stood before them. There were no signs of respect, no careful negotiations. Just judgment. The High Chancellor, a towering, avian creature of the Elzery, stared down with thinly veiled amusement. Humanity! We expected more. Whispers rippled through the chamber, some amused, others dismissive. The ZYYTH, scaled and cold-eyed, flicked his tail in mockery. They fight each other for land, for resources, for beliefs. A rumbling chuckle. They are primitive. Their emotions drive them, their leaders bicker, their people starve. The humans said nothing. The Chancellor continued. The Council exists to uphold order, to ensure peace. And we have observed your kind. A pause, drawn out, deliberate. You are unworthy. A murmur of approval. The decision was expected. The humans had barely stepped into the stars, yet they came, requesting a seat among the elder races. Arrogant. The sentence was passed without debate. Humanity would not be welcomed. Worse, they would be isolated. No access to technology. No aid. No trade. The laws of progress, the very infrastructure of galactic civilization, would be locked away from them. A representative, an older man with silvered hair, took a single breath. His hands curled into fists. But he did not argue. Did not plead. He simply turned and left. And humanity was forgotten. The blockade came swiftly. Earth's colonies were absorbed, stripped of their ships and weapons. Every trade route, every diplomatic tie severed. The Council believed the matter was settled. Humanity would fade, broken by time and its own instability. For a while, there were reports. Desperate messages from human traders caught beyond the blockade. Pleas from outer settlements. And then silence. Decades passed. Then centuries. No ships left Earth's system. No messages, no attempts to return. To the rest of the galaxy, humanity ceased to exist. No one questioned it. The Elzery continued their dominance. The ZYYTH expanded their influence. The Council's rule remained unchallenged. Until the ships arrived. The first was seen on the outer edges of Council space. A lone freighter, drifting without signal. The patrols approached, running scans. The ship was old, unfamiliar in its design, alien, yet unmistakably human. When hailed, it did not respond. As the patrol neared, the ship came to life. Weapons activated, energy readings unknown, signatures unreadable. In a flash, the patrol vessels ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Not wrecked. Erased. Panic spread. More ships appeared. Unregistered, black, silent. They did not follow trade lanes, they did not announce their presence. They moved like ghosts. The Council convened. No species matched these readings, no known empire had the power to delete ships from reality. Then, the message came. A single transmission, broadcast in perfect galactic standard across every Council frequency. Humanity has returned. There was no demand. No declaration of war. Just fact. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Elzery Chancellor stilled, feathers twitching in unease. That's impossible. The ZYYTH hissed. A lie. A rogue state. More reports arrived. Worlds along the outer systems darkened, communications cut, defenses disabled. Entire fleets sent to intercept, simply gone. The Council scrambled. They sent envoys, emissaries. None returned. Finally, a delegation was sent to speak. To confirm the impossible. Their warships escorted them to a barren system, where a single monolithic structure loomed in the void, a station unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The delegates docked, escorted through empty halls of silent steel. No servants. No security. Just waiting. At last, they reached the chamber. A lone figure stood at the center. A human. Older, taller than the ones they remembered. Clad in unfamiliar material, an emblem on his chest that did not match any old Earth flag. He did not bow. did not offer the usual gestures of peace. He merely stared, eyes cold. "We warned you." The delegates hesitated. The Elzri ambassador spoke first, voice carefully measured. "You were given an opportunity. It was your kind's nature that sealed your fate." A pause. Then a smile, one that did not reach human eyes. "Our nature." A step forward. The alien delegates instinctively moved back. "You believed our wars made us weak. That our chaos would break us." His voice remained level, but the walls trembled with something unseen. "We do not break." The ZYYTH diplomat bared his fangs. "We do not negotiate with threats." Something shifted. The lights flickered. The air hummed. The station responded, not to an order, but to his presence. The Elzri's throat tightened. A memory surfaced. Decades ago, humanity had spoken of artificial intelligence, quantum warfare. Their primitive attempts had been dismissed as crude, limited. This was not crude. This was alive. The human exhaled. "We are not here to negotiate." Silence. The walls moved, as if listening. "Your fleets are disabled. Your defenses belong to us. Your empire exists because we allow it." He watched them with the patience of a predator. "And yet you still pretend you have a choice." Panic flickered through the delegation. They had underestimated them. Again. The ZYYTH's voice dropped, low and desperate. "What do you want?" The human's eyes burned. "A reckoning." And the council finally understood. They had made a mistake. The council chamber was in chaos. The same rulers who had once mocked humanity now whispered in fear. The reports were undeniable. Entire sectors had gone dark, fleets lost without a trace. A force they didn't understand moved through their borders, silent and unstoppable. The name behind it sent a chill through the galaxy. Humanity. No one could explain it. The last records showed them as a primitive race, isolated, stagnant. Yet what returned bore no resemblance to the desperate species they had cast aside. Their ships were massive, black monoliths without identifiable propulsion. Their soldiers were unseen, their technology beyond comprehension. When the council demanded answers, the void responded. Another transmission cut through their networks, overriding every channel. The same voice as before. Calm, measured. "Your time is over." The message was not a declaration of war. It was a statement of fact. The council assembled its greatest fleets, the same armadas that had kept the galaxy in check for centuries. Thousands of warships, armed with weapons powerful enough to crack moons. They converged at the border, waiting for the enemy to arrive. They never got the chance to fire. The first fleet ceased to exist before sensors could register the attack. The second managed to send a single, frantic message before vanishing. "It's not." The rest was static. The council leaders refused to believe it. An enemy without visible weapons, without traditional warfare? It was impossible. They scrambled for solutions, but their own systems betrayed them. Planets lost access to power grids overnight. Entire defense networks fell silent. AI-driven security turned against their masters. It was as if something else controlled them now. A desperate attempt was made to capture one of the human ships. A strike force approached a lone vessel, its black hull untouched by laser fire. A boarding team breached its surface. The connection was lost seconds later. When a recovery team was sent, they found the ship exactly as before, empty, undamaged, as if no one had ever set foot inside. The realization sank in. They were fighting ghosts. Then, without warning, the destruction stopped. No more fleets lost. No more systems compromised. Humanity had made its point. The council, paralyzed by fear, did the only thing it could. They sent a delegation directly to the humans, not as rulers, but as supplicants. They expected a war room, a council of strategists, a military dictator sitting on a throne of conquest. Instead, they found one human waiting for them. Alone. He did not gloat. He did not threaten. He simply looked at them, as if already knowing their thoughts. The Elzery spoke first, voice unsteady. You have demonstrated your power. But there is no need for more destruction. The Council is willing to offer humanity full rights, a seat among us. The human's expression remained unreadable. We do not seek a seat. Confusion flickered across the delegation. The ZYYTH representative pressed forward. Then what do you want? The human's voice was quiet, but it carried finality. We are here to end you. The words hung in the air. One of the diplomats scoffed, attempting to regain composure. Absurd. The Council governs hundreds of worlds. Even with your strength, you cannot control the galaxy alone. A slow blink. Who said anything about control? There was no need for conquest. Humanity had not returned to rule. They had returned to erase. The Council's grip over the galaxy had been absolute for millennia, until now. The same way they had isolated and cut off humanity, humanity had now done to them. One by one, their systems collapsed. Their leaders lost control. Their species turned on them. Not because of war. Not because of invasion. Because humanity had made them obsolete. The ZYYH's voice was barely a whisper. Then, what happens now? The human leaned forward. You survive, if we allow it. The Council's desperation deepened. Every attempt to resist had failed before it could begin. Their fleets did not fall in battle, they simply ceased to function. Their worlds were not bombarded, they cut themselves off, their own people too afraid to be seen as loyal to the old order. Their rule had ended before they even understood why. The Council convened once more, but now it was not to pass judgment. It was to beg. The same species that had laughed at humanity now argued over how to survive them. The Elzery Chancellor, once the most powerful being in the galaxy, spoke with trembling authority. We must negotiate. The ZYYTH ambassador hissed. Negotiate with what? We have seen no armies. No leaders. They do not speak of peace, they do not ask for surrender. They simply exist. The reality was worse than war. Humanity had no demands. They did not want tribute. They did not claim territory. They were not here to replace the Council. They were here to erase the need for one. A desperate plan was formed. If they could not fight the humans militarily, perhaps they could cripple them politically. An offer would be made, one of total inclusion. Humanity would be granted not just a seat at the table but the highest authority within the Council. A chance to reshape galactic law, to rule as they saw fit. The transmission was sent. The reply came almost instantly. We are not interested. The words struck harder than any invasion could. The Council had spent centuries believing power was something to be held, something to be given. Yet the humans had never asked for it. Panic spread through the chamber. The Elzery's feathers flared. Then what do they want? The ZYYTH slammed his claws against the table. They want us gone. The truth was undeniable. Humanity was not here to take power. They were here to render it meaningless. The Chancellor spoke with quiet dread. Then our only choice is to surrender. A ripple of horror. Surrender was not a term the Council had ever considered. No species had ever forced them to kneel, but what was left? Their fleets did not function. Their systems collapsed the moment they attempted resistance. Their people, once subjugated and obedient, now looked to humanity for leadership, not to them. One by one, the Council rulers lowered their heads. Not in agreement. Not in strategy. But in defeat. The transmission was sent. The reply came. We do not accept your surrender. Silence. Humanity did not want their compliance. They did not want their submission. The Council was irrelevant. And in that moment, they understood. They had already lost. The Council chamber stood silent. The rulers of the galaxy, once untouchable, now sat in the shadow of a power they could not comprehend. The humans had denied their surrender. Not out of cruelty. Not out of arrogance. But because it no longer mattered. Their empire was already gone. The realization settled over them like a death sentence. The institutions they had built, The hierarchies they had enforced, the power they had wielded, it had all been erased. Not with war. Not with treaties. But with irrelevance. The Council had spent centuries ensuring that no species could challenge them. They had manipulated economies, controlled technology, dictated who could rise and who would fall. They had believed themselves untouchable. Then humanity disappeared into the dark. And when they returned, they had rewritten the rules of existence. There was no invasion, no bloodshed, no declarations of war. The galaxy itself had shifted. The systems that once upheld the Council's power now responded only to the humans. Their fleets had been rendered useless, their infrastructure hijacked. Entire worlds had turned away, not by force, but by choice. The humans did not need to rule. They had simply made the Council unnecessary. The ZYYTH ambassador's voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" The Chancellor had no answer. Another transmission came through. Not a demand. Not an order. A simple statement. "You are free." The words sent a chill through the chamber. The Council had ruled for so long, had controlled so much, that they had forgotten what freedom meant. Their entire existence had been built upon dominance, subjugation, control. Now, there was nothing left to control. No one to rule. No one willing to be ruled. The humans had not just defeated them. They had removed the need for them entirely. A final message was sent across the stars. Not from the Council. Not from humanity. From the people of the galaxy. A single statement. "We do not need you anymore." The Council was over. The age of humanity had begun.